There was something strangely revealing about the nickname King Charles quietly gave Meghan Markle during the early days of her royal life, because while the world was busy debating whether she was glamorous enough, polished enough, royal enough, Charles reportedly saw something entirely different in her. According to palace insiders, he called her tungsten, a metal known for being incredibly strong, resistant to pressure, and almost impossible to break under heat. It was not the kind of nickname given to someone delicate or ornamental. It was the kind of nickname given to a woman who carried herself with quiet force, and perhaps even then, before the interviews and documentaries and family fractures, Charles understood that Meghan possessed a resilience the monarchy had not encountered in quite the same way before. At the time, the public mostly saw a modern fairy tale unfolding before their eyes. Prince Harry, long viewed as the emotional prince, the restless younger son who seemed forever haunted by the loss of his mother, had fallen deeply in love with an American actress who appeared warm, intelligent, confident, and completely unlike anyone the royal family had welcomed into its inner circle in generations. Their engagement interviews were filled with laughter and tenderness, and there was a sense, both in Britain and abroad, that perhaps this marriage represented something larger than romance alone. For many people, Meghan symbolised a younger and more modern monarchy, one capable of evolving with a changing world while still holding on to its traditions. But inside palace walls, things were already more complicated than they appeared from the outside. Meghan entered royal life carrying years of professional experience, media confidence and independence. She knew how to speak publicly, how to command attention in a room, how to connect emotionally with audiences, and while those qualities impressed some members of the royal household, they quietly unsettled others. Royal institutions move carefully, almost cautiously, and Meghan arrived with a natural energy that moved much faster than the system around her. She was not timid, and she was not easily moulded, and perhaps that was exactly what Charles admired when he called her tungsten. One moment in particular reportedly changed how senior royals viewed Meghan. During the Royal Foundation Forum in 2018, Meghan appeared publicly alongside Harry, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, in what was supposed to be a showcase of unity among the younger generation of royals. Yet, according to royal correspondent Katie Nichols, Meghan quickly became the standout figure of the event. She spoke with confidence and warmth, effortlessly using the communication skills she had developed during her years in television and public life. Palace aides allegedly described it as a wake-up moment because suddenly it became clear that Meghan was not simply fitting into royal life quietly in the background. She was commanding attention naturally, almost instinctively. And within the monarchy, attention has always been a delicate kind of currency. Now, pause for a moment and think about that, because royal history has always been shaped by popularity just as much as protocol, even if the institution rarely admits it openly. The royal family survives on public affection, and whenever one figure begins capturing too much fascination too quickly, tensions can quietly begin forming beneath the polished surface. Princess Diana experienced that dynamic decades earlier, becoming so beloved around the world that her popularity often overshadowed the institution itself. Harry grew up watching that happen to his mother, and perhaps those memories never truly left him. According to palace insiders, Charles admired the strength Meghan brought into Harry's life, because Harry himself was often described as emotionally softer than his older brother William. He was deeply sensitive, deeply protective, and still carried emotional scars from childhood that never fully healed. Charles reportedly believed Meghan gave Harry confidence and stability, a kind of emotional backbone that helped him navigate pressures he had struggled with for years. At first, there seemed to be genuine warmth between Meghan and Charles. People still remember the emotional moment at the royal wedding when Charles stepped in to walk Meghan partway down the aisle after her father was unable to attend. It felt sincere, gentle, and deeply symbolic, a future king quietly supporting the woman his son loved. For a brief period, it truly seemed possible that Meghan would become one of the monarchy's greatest modern assets. Crowds adored her. International media followed her every move. Young people who had previously shown little interest in the royal family suddenly felt engaged again. Meghan brought visibility, glamour, and global curiosity in ways the institution had not experienced for years. Yet the same qualities that made her shine publicly also made life inside the monarchy increasingly difficult. Every appearance she made drew comparisons with Catherine. Every headline fueled narratives about rivalry. Every public success seemed to intensify quiet tensions behind the scenes. The truth is, Meghan and Catherine represented two completely different paths into royal life. Catherine spent years gradually adjusting to palace culture before marrying William. She learned the rhythms slowly, carefully, patiently. Meghan entered already fully formed, older, professionally accomplished, outspoken, and accustomed to handling public scrutiny. Neither approach was wrong, but the contrast between them became impossible for the media to resist. Newspapers dissected everything from their fashion choices to their body language, constantly framing the women as opposites rather than individuals. Over time, those narratives created an atmosphere where even ordinary misunderstandings became amplified into evidence of deeper conflict. Meanwhile, Harry was becoming increasingly protective of Meghan as media scrutiny intensified. Some headlines directed at her were undeniably harsh, and Harry appeared to interpret much of the criticism through the painful memory of what his mother endured decades earlier. To him, the warning signs likely felt terrifyingly familiar. He had watched Diana chased relentlessly by photographers, emotionally isolated and publicly dissected by tabloids until the pressure consumed her life. So when Meghan began facing constant criticism, Harry did not see ordinary royal press attention. He saw history threatening to repeat itself. That fear shaped nearly every decision that followed. What some people viewed as overreaction, Harry likely viewed as survival. He believed protecting Meghan and their future family mattered more than preserving royal tradition or public approval. And perhaps this is where the tragedy of the entire story truly begins, because once fear replaces trust inside a family, every disagreement becomes heavier than it should be. Conversations become confrontations, concerns become accusations, emotional distance grows quietly until suddenly it feels impossible to close again. The collapse of Harry's relationship with William remains one of the saddest aspects of the entire royal divide, because for much of their lives the brothers seemed inseparable. The world watched them grieve together after Diana's death, walking behind her coffin beneath unimaginable public attention. That shared trauma bonded them deeply, yet adulthood slowly pushed them onto different paths. William embraced the structure and duty of monarchy with increasing seriousness as he prepared for his future role as king. Harry, meanwhile, appeared increasingly conflicted about the institution itself, questioning whether royal life protected people or quietly damaged them emotionally over time. When Meghan entered Harry's life, she did not create all those tensions from nothing, but she undeniably accelerated changes already forming beneath the surface. To Harry, Meghan represented freedom, emotional honesty, and escape from a system he increasingly distrusted. To others inside the family, her influence may have felt disruptive, even threatening to long-established royal dynamics. And perhaps both perspectives contain elements of truth, because families are rarely divided by one villain or one single mistake. More often, fractures emerge slowly through accumulated misunderstandings, pride, hurt feelings, and incompatible expectations. Years later, the distance between Harry and the royal family remains painfully visible. Interviews, documentaries, and Harry's memoir only deepened wounds that already seemed difficult to heal. Yet, while the Sussexes built a new life in California, events inside Britain quietly reshaped the emotional landscape of the monarchy as both King Charles and Catherine faced serious battles with cancer. Illness has a way of stripping away formality and reminding families what truly matters beneath titles and public roles. Royal biographer Sally Bedell-Smith later explained that Charles and Catherine grew especially close during this difficult period, bonded by shared vulnerability and mutual support. And perhaps that reality carries a bittersweet sadness of its own, because while Charles reportedly found comfort and closeness with Catherine during illness, his relationship with Harry remained strained across an ocean. Behind all the royal headlines and public statements lies something painfully human. A father growing older, a son living far away, grandchildren separated from much of their extended family. Whatever opinions people hold about Harry and Meghan, there is something undeniably tragic about families drifting so far apart that reconciliation begins to feel uncertain. Still, the nickname Tungsten continues to linger over Meghan's story in an almost haunting way, because it captures something essential about how she survived royal life. Whatever criticism she has faced, Meghan never appeared willing to completely surrender herself to the institution. She endured pressure that would overwhelm many people: constant scrutiny, online hostility, public mockery, and endless analysis of every word and expression. Yet she remained standing beside Harry through it all, determined to shape a different life for their family, even at enormous personal cost. And maybe that is what Charles recognized from the very beginning. Not perfection, not obedience, not even diplomacy necessarily, but endurance. The ability to withstand extraordinary pressure without completely breaking apart. History will continue debating whether Harry and Meghan were right or wrong in many of their choices, but their impact on the monarchy is undeniable. They changed conversations about race, media treatment, mental health, institutional tradition, and personal freedom inside one of the oldest royal systems in the world. Perhaps years from now, after emotions cool and headlines fade into history, people will look back on this era differently. Perhaps they will see not simply scandal or rebellion, but a deeply emotional story about identity, family loyalty, survival, and the impossible tension between public duty and private happiness. Because beneath the crowns and palaces and media spectacles, this has always been a story about human beings struggling to protect the people they love while carrying expectations heavier than most families could ever imagine. And somewhere inside that complicated story, King Charles's old nickname still feels strangely fitting. Tungsten, strong under pressure, difficult to break, forever changed by the heat around it, yet enduring all the same.